I'm Sam McCoy, and for the first time ever, I'm here on YouTube as a bona fide adult in the eyes of the American government. That's right, as of September 15th, 2013, I, Sam McCoy, am an official adult. Oh wow, that's a terrifying thought, isn't it? Me, as an adult. So I thought, what better way to come into adulthood than to look back on my past and tell you about some of the first things in my life. Wait, I can phrase this better. My first time doing, I did things in my life before now. You know how they say there's a first time for everything? This is that first time that I'm going to tell you about. So this video is going to get really embarrassing for me, so I'm going to get this out of the way right at the front. This is the most embarrassing thing I could think of, and so after this, nothing can be quite as embarrassing. Who wants to see the most embarrassing picture of me ever taken? Come on, hands up. That was me. I really thought I looked good with long hair. I was so wrong. My first music CD of all time. Boom! Green Day's American Idiot album. I still listen to this all the time in the car. And I may or may not be able to sing it by heart. These guys definitely influenced my music taste. Because in my humble opinion, nothing beats some anti-government punk with a heavy guitar in the back. My first video game of all time. I still have it. Take a guess. Take a guess. Ready? Pokemon Blue version, my first video game of all time. Oh man, the stories I could tell. I recently dug this thing up. I found it in one of my old drawers and I'm really glad I did. I found it in my old Game Boy Color. I started a new game and now I've got a Dragonite on here. Yeah, I took the time to raise a Dragonite. That game has some of the best memories from elementary school on it. So, back in my elementary school, there was a big old playground. There were these big green pipe jungle gym things that everyone would go and play at, and that was the designated Pokemon area for all the kids. You'd see us all over there with our Game Boy Colors and our link cables and 2 feet away from each other trading and battling. We'd all be over there battling. And I did alright. Now even back then, everyone hated me when we battled because I'm a big fan of using the poison type. Look at that! Look at that! I like building poison type teams that could take down most people. Starting off with an RPG as addicting as Pokemon, it's no surprise that I've become a pretty big gamer today. The first sport I ever played was soccer. Now this wasn't really a big thing in my life. I only played soccer for about 2 years and it was right before I went into first grade. I was just one of those little teeny boppers running around chasing the ball. This was before there was any strategy in the game. There was no defensive positions. It was all offense. It was just every kid on the field clumping around the ball, kicking it toward one end or the other. The first sport I really got into though was baseball. My dad started coaching my little league team, so I was the coach's kid and he would always practice me out in the backyard. I'm pretty proud to say that for 3 years in a row I got picked to be in the All-Stars division. Now every year, every kid who participated in the rec league would always get a little bobblehead trophy. But if you were one of the top 3 teams, you would get one of these. And this was from 2004 when we were the Little League champions. I got to be on a season champion team again 2 years later in 2006. But my crowning achievement on any baseball team I was ever on was the last year I ever played Little League Baseball. This was the best team I ever played on, and we went all the way to the top. We didn't just win the season, we went on to the major leagues of Little League, and we won first place and got this big old trophy, and it's just sitting over there on my shelf. First time I ever asked out a girl. This was 8th grade in middle school. Just a young kid at the time, still wet behind the ears in the ways of females. And there was this one girl who was really cute to me at the time, and she hung out with her friends. They were inseparable, so I could never catch her one-on-one to try and ask her out, right? It was one day at an indoor recess where we all just basically sat in the entrance hallway of the middle school, and I'm sitting there with my friends at the time, and I tell them, hey guys, I think I got a crush on her. And they all go, Sam, oh my gosh, you gotta go ask her, go Coy, go. I don't want to, guys. I'm nervous, okay? I've never done that before. Okay, then we'll go do it for you. No, don't do that. Ah. And so they went over to her and started saying, hey, you know, McCoy likes you over there, he likes you. Meanwhile, I'm sitting in the corner, my face is turning beet red, until eventually they just kind of call me over, and it was so embarrassing I had to. I walked over there, sat down, and she just kind of looked at me really awkwardly, looked at her friends and laughed, and then just says, I don't want to date you. I don't want to date you. Okay, Thanks. And that put me off of dating for a while. My first date, my first actual date. I didn't have my first date until sophomore year of high school. You gotta understand, there was no talking to girls for me. They did not want anything to do with me. Probably because I looked like this. But one day I went to this youth group kind of talk. I got there with my one good friend Austin, and we were surrounded by kids that we had never met before. We didn't know them, they didn't go to our school. And there was this one girl that we started talking to because we got paired up into icebreaker groups. Then we had to go sit down and talk in a big group like we were getting spoken to while we all sat in a group of kids. She sits right next to me and we just started playing footsie until it was over. As she was leaving, I ran after her and asked for her number. She gave it to me, I called her up later that night, and I got invited over to her house for a date. I went over to her house and we watched John Carpenter's The Thing. My first kiss also happened on my first date. As I've said, we're watching John Carpenter's The Thing in this big old leather armchair. It's like a small couch. We're down in the basement. There's a shotgun on the wall, which made me a little bit nervous. There were dim lights on. Neither of us knew how to drive yet. And at some point during the movie, I just kind of looked down and we locked eyes. And quickly I shot down, gave her 2 quick pecks on the lips. Now, being a suave, classy gentleman, I played it off cool. But in my mind, I was thinking, oh my god, did that really just happen? And that was how I got my first kiss. The first time I almost died is a really dumb story. One day, as a small tyke, I was with my mother and we were riding through a supermarket. Well, I was riding in the cart. I was only like 3 or something. You know how carts in supermarkets specifically have seats for kids to sit in now? I was sitting in the front of the cart, like pushing here, here's the cart, I was sitting on the edge here with my feet on the inside of the cart and just nothing behind me. There's nothing. And some lady comes out of an aisle and it bumps the front of our cart. I go tumbling out, hit my head on the concrete, and break my skull. It was cracked open. I woke up 2 weeks later in an MRI machine. They told me that my head swelled up like 3 times its normal size. We had to go through countless procedures to make sure I wasn't brain dead, and there may still be lasting side effects today. But I'm not worried. My first time meeting each of my 3 best friends, I remember very, very vividly. My 3 best friends of all time are the guys I grew up with in my neighborhood and I've known for the majority of my life. Those would be Kevin, Eric, and Justin. Now, Eric and Justin have both been on this channel before. You might have seen them in my Harlem Shake video, or you might have seen Justin in the helium video or the camping video. Kevin has declined being on YouTube because he thinks it's silly. He was also the first one I met, and from that day on I had a very good example of what kind of person he was. It was the first day of first grade. I was getting on the bus at the end of my street, and so was he. We both sat down in the back row. He was 1 seat behind me, and I had this weird little McDonald's Transformer toy that I had gotten out of a Happy Meal. Kevin looks over and sees it and says, "Hey, I'll trade you this Yu-Gi-Oh card for that." Me, not knowing what Yu-Gi-Oh was but thinking it was cool, said, "Okay, fine." To which Kevin responded, "That card sucks. You're such a sucker. I'm going to play with this Transformer because I'm a mature 2nd grader and I have outsmarted you." But after that, we somehow became friends. A few days later, I met Justin. Justin immediately made me think he was the coolest guy ever in the best. Yeah, like I said, back then, we were all getting into Yu-Gi-Oh! It was really cool. And he had a Blue Eyes White Dragon, which anyone who ever watched the show knows is like a god. So now I knew Kevin and Justin. They both lived in my neighborhood, just down the street from me. And later I met Eric. I met Eric when he tagged along with Kevin to hang out with us one day in Justin's basement. And those are my 3 best friends, and now they're all in college. But it's okay, because I am visiting them, and we're going to hang out and spend the weekend in their dorms. Oh wait, this is an interesting-ish story. The first time I lost a tooth, I almost choked to death on it. I woke up gagging and it was in my throat. So being a smart kid, I got up on my bed. I did this and went upside down. And I let gravity do the rest, and it popped into the roof of my mouth, and I pulled it out, and I got my money from the Tooth Fairy that night. So those are just a few of my firsts, and the ones I thought would be interesting for you to hear. I couldn't think of a better video to come into adulthood with. I'm sorry. Thank you for watching. I hope you had fun. As always, I've been Sam McCoy, and I'll see you later. Bye.